Dollar CAD on the weekly chart is coming in, if not as, okay, it's taken out. Depending on where you put your trend line, some people stick it down there, no problem, do that. Okay, so joining up those wicks, pretty much, thereabouts. We had this trend line broken. And here, this here as well. So I've just connected the dots in various ways that people might have drawn the trend line, but either way, we are definitely on the backside of the bulk of that move. And what I'm seeing on this weekly chart is that we had this M formation. We came back up into a decent portion of the M formation to test support, and was subsequently selling off. So the lowest leg was there and here. So that was an area, well, let's turn those red. So those are now resistance. And they are broken resistance. But we'll leave them solid like that. And as an area of resistance. In this correction, we can measure it just for knowing what sort of correction it was. And it came up in a 50% mean reversion. Yeah, tagged into that. Subsequently sold off. If we measure the correction, we can see the minus 272 at 130.40 comes in line thereabouts with the trend line that we drew, the deepest trend line, marrying up those wicks. Probably get a bit more precise. We're trying to catch that wick there, and it pulls us up to here. So we're coming into that trend line. That's not to say that we can't continue lower. We can look left to see where our other points of structure are. So this is going to be a target to the downside. Now this is stuff that's all pretty far out, of course. And we're starting with a top-down analysis. So this is the area that will be targeted more than likely because it was the origin of the move up. This candle here, this week, August the 8th. But there's likely to be support in there. So, sorry, that should be green for support. So once we come into here, this is an area where I believe we're going to get some consolidation and move up before coming back in. So that's the weekly chart. And I'm just going to move to a different broker so we can use a different chart altogether. And this is old breaking lows, opening risk to 131.82 and 131.20. Well, this is something I called earlier in the week, and that's exactly what's happened. So as you can see, we broke that. Yeah, so pretty self-explanatory stuff, but this is the move that we were looking for, and that's already occurred. And I probably drew that on a daily chart. Yeah, so on the daily chart, we'd broken the support and we were looking for this move, which has occurred with the resistance up here. This move is playing out nicely. 31.20 was achieved. In fact, we've come right in to try and test 131. So we'll just leave that exactly how it is because that's the course of the market. Um, Now we've got this M formation, so just we can start monitoring at this point for a pullback. We can start looking for the pullback somewhere in here. We're in anticipation of a move up for the next move lower, if that were to play out from here, potentially for a continuation lower to marry up with the weekly analysis. But for the time being, what we can be doing is looking for a deceleration in this bearish leg. So we can look for that on, say, a 1 hour chart. And the way we're going to do that is we're just going to plot, get rid of this, we'll make it less prominent on the chart. So essentially what we're looking for is a move up into the neckline of that M formation, that harmonic pattern. Where is that neckline? Up there. Okay. So what we can do is we plot a trend line resistance along here. And we're basically just going to monitor this chart on a lower time frame, such as the hourly, and see if this doesn't start to come up to test this trend line. I mean, you can come into an even lower time frame if you want to try and scout the move up on the 5-minute chart, say, and look for a move out of the 5-minute trend. So if you want to monitor it like this, so you can see that it's, let's do this up there to pull this in a bit tighter. So as you can see, we've come into this trend line, we've come up and up again, found a bit of resistance, but it's managed to break through. So it's sliding out. That's not to say that it won't come back in lower, but you wonder if this is a peak formation to the downside and it's starting to build bullish structure, accumulate to start moving up. And that is where you might find a buying opportunity on the way to the trend line resistance. So that should be red from trend line resistance. That's the hourly trend line. So we could be on the verge of a move up into there with 31 or thereabouts acting as support for the move up.